here with Tanya Brand, my sister.
Hi.
And we are just going to ask her a few questions and interview her and have some fun and have some girl time. So, Tanya, will you please start by telling me a little bit about your life story?
All right. Well, like Tiffany said, my name is Tanya, and I am actually Tiffany's sister, for anyone who doesn't know. But I feel like I grew up in a really good Christian home. I feel like my parents always loved Jesus and always showed that. And I feel like from the smallest age, I remember loving Jesus and knowing Jesus was real and having him in my life. The only thing, for some reason, I just couldn't, I had the shame, and I couldn't accept that Jesus loved me just for who I was with all my flaws and mistakes. It wasn't until an Awaken retreat, I believe it was 2018, right, Tiffany?
Mm-hmm.
Our Hope for Healing retreat, that I was really literally freed from just shame that I've been carrying around my whole life, the whole time I can remember. I remember being a little girl and being afraid that I wasn't going to go to heaven if I sinned, or things like that. So I just always carried that shame around until that 2018 Hope for Healing retreat.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened at that retreat? I know that you also spoke, and so some of our women have already heard some of that, but for those that haven't heard it, what happened at that retreat that brought so much healing for you?
Well, I was just going through the retreat like normal. I'm usually doing whatever needs done, the sound or the slides or whatever, and I actually happened to be doing slides a lot at that retreat, but I'm always like listening. And Stephanie Fast was speaking at that retreat, and I remember that she was speaking on the Holy Spirit and just like letting the Holy Spirit in, how like you can wake up every morning and invite the Holy Spirit to come in and just have a like really feeling it. And as she was speaking that, just like I could feel the Holy Spirit come over me, and instantly like my shame just was gone. I was so in shock just sitting there, and it just felt gone, and it just never came back after that.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about how you started with Awaken, which is probably self-explanatory knowing that you're my sister, but that's okay.
Yeah. So at first, Awaken for me was just yours, and I, being your older sister, just wanted to help in whatever way I could. I'm kind of that kind of a person anyways, where I just like to jump in wherever there needs organization, or whenever, I just see a need, I just jump in. So that was what it started as for me. And it wasn't until probably that Hope for Healing retreat, or right around that time after that, that I really just felt different about it. I've never had like big dreams or goals for my life, other than I've always wanted to be a mom, but I've never had any other big dreams or goals. But now, like Awaken it feels like a purpose of mine. Like it feels like I am meant to be where I'm supposed to be with Awaken, and I'm just excited for everything that is in store with Awaken.
Yeah. And I feel like you told us a little bit too about what Awaken meant to you. Obviously, it's brought you freedom. And I think that's even something all of us leaders, we've gone into it maybe wanting women to be free, not necessarily expecting ourselves to find freedom within it, even though we knew that would happen to some degree, but not maybe to the extent that it has happened for all of us. And just the freedom that at almost each retreat, one of us on the team has found has been, I think, monumental, honestly, for one of us. But can you maybe tell me a little bit more of what Awaken for you means, like what it means to you, and explain it a little bit more for women who've never been to it?
Well, for me, I see it as there's so many women out there who carry that guilt and shame around, or other things maybe that they have, things that they deal with. And so for me, and I think having two girls also, adds to that, because I want for them to be able to have that freedom in their life if they ever come across things that, hold them in bondage.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it is, I'm just excited to always just be there to help facilitate bringing women freedom from whatever holds them and binds them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And I wanted to ask you, what is one thing that you have been doing just to like combat the anxiety and the stress through this time with COVID-19? And is there something that you could even like offer for the women that they could do to combat some of that stress that they may be facing right now?
Yeah. For me, it's not coming in the form of fear from the coronavirus, but more so just like the things that are happening in the world, like the way people are reacting to it, the panic, the fear that's being just like blown up, which I understand how serious it is, but I feel like it's just really scary how that fear just travels and just explodes. So for me right now, my Jesus time in the morning is like essential. I cannot like not have that each day, because I really need it to just remember that I am trusting him in this, and that I can trust him in this, and that he's there for me, whatever the day might bring, whether it, is annoyance of my family, or just boredom, or disappointment in the things that we're all having to miss out on and stuff like that. So just that time for me is really essential right now. With that, along with that, working out is actually really just bringing me peace right now, just because I feel like it gives me an outlet to like get some of those bad feelings out of me, and just like bring myself a little bit more peace. Mm-hmm. So working out has really helped me with that too.
Has there been a verse that like the Lord's just been giving to you over and over again during this time, or?
I feel like he has been giving me so much stuff during this time. That Psalm 46 that Kat had posted, or Awaken had posted, that Kat, one of our leaders, brought to us, that whole chapter just was like, just looking at it in this light was like eye-opening for me. So I feel like Psalm 46 has been huge for me. I actually keep almost daily going back and just reading the whole chapter, just because I just need that right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's something that you've been doing as a family that you maybe wouldn't have done if not for this time, kind of secluded together?
Yeah, I've actually been loving the family time. I might be different in some people, and I having my girls home brings me peace. Like, they're safe, they're with us, they're at kind of hard ages right now. My oldest will go into high school after this summer, and my youngest will go into middle school. So there's just a lot of fear in that for me, with outside things. And so having them in my house has actually been really, really good for me. And I feel like as a family, we've really loved it. We have had like a family movie night every night, which we normally, don't do that. Everybody kind of disperses to their own rooms or does their own thing. So we've had that, we've played games, we've been hanging out outside a lot. I feel like it's actually been really special to have this time, together.
Mm-hmm. I wanted you to talk a little bit too about the grief of, I know for a lot of people, they're grieving children's graduation. Your school was postponed till next year, right? Is that correct? And so I know you've said that Alina was going to be going into her freshman year, so she was going to have her 8th grade graduation. And can you talk to us just a little bit about that grief? And although that does look different than senior year graduation, it's still a grief. So what would you, oh, go ahead.
my heart like has been just so saddened for those seniors specifically and their parents even more. Just like I feel like that's part of, as a mom and dad, like that's part of letting them go, is going through all those things. And so to not be able to do it, I feel like would make the letting go even harder. So I have some friends in my life who have seniors, and I've just been, my heart has been broken for them. But even for my daughter, um, it's just eighth grade graduation, but it's still, and I have, my youngest will have fifth grade. We're supposed to have fifth grade graduation this year and won't have that either. And even though, you know, I'm sure it's something that we will probably easily forget in the next few years. But right now it does feel like a loss. It feels like something that they're not going to get to experience, that I'm not going to get to take the pictures, that, you know, I feel like it's hard to move on to things when you don't get to really say goodbye. So I feel like that's been really hard for people.
Yeah. Gracie, my oldest, was, for those that don't know, was really struggling last night with just some of the grief. And she said, I know I want to be thankful, but I'm just really sad, as she had like tears in her eyes. And I looked at her and I think I said to her what I needed somebody to say to me. And I said, it's okay to grieve right now. Yes, we want to be thankful, but it's okay to grieve. So I think of that, like, yes, like we have so much to be thankful for, but there is grief for everyone. And the grief looks different, and it's different extents of grief. Obviously, there's people who are faced with the actual virus, and that's a huge grief in and of itself. And then there's lots of people who are having grief from missing out on things or jobs being canceled. But I think it's okay for us to, I don't know, take that grief to the Lord, not deny that grief, but really process that grief. So yeah, I was encouraged to hear you talk about that part of it, because that's not something I had really thought about, is for those people who have children that maybe they are not going to get to see them graduate, and the kids aren't going to just have that accomplishment. And even though they will graduate, it's just, like you said, being able to celebrate it, to move on. And that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad. I feel like we could have more talks like this for hours and hours, but we all have children. I think that's why I chose Tanya first, though, because her and I both have the oldest, so we could possibly do this without kids screaming, but maybe the other ones will look a little different with some screaming children. I sent my kids outside, so that's how I did that. But I am just really thankful for getting to come on here and talk and hear a little bit about your story, and just even talk about what's going on in the world. And I think it's important for us to get to be a community. And maybe if anyone else has anything they want to add, comment us and ask questions, talk. If there's things you want us to talk about, that would be really great. Questions you want us to ask each other, or topics you want us to talk about. Yeah, just go ahead and comment and let us know, because we would love to just do that. And again, be a community within the lens while we can right now, since a lot of us are feeling really lonely. So thank you, Tanya.
Yeah.
And I love you.
Love you too.
All right. See you later.